The movie starts in a small and cold Wisconsin town where a cozily dressed man is looking through his window at the house in front of him. A woman comes out and asks this man to have breakfast. The man says he plans to visit the church. She insists he comes after, to which the man silently agrees. The woman goes back to her house and cuddles with her husband. The scene cuts to a view of Wisconsin City, and in the backdrop, a pastor is reading his sermon. In the church, we see the man from the beginning. He tries to listen, but loses interest and plays with some toys, while a woman sitting across observes this. The man seems kind and even offers to help an old lady carry a bouquet. The man is Lars Lindstrom. The old woman compliments him on his looks and asks about his girlfriend, to which he says he does not have one. She assumes Lars is gay and even goes so far as to suggest her grandson, saying she knows all about gays. Lars says he is not gay. The old woman advises him to find someone soon, gives him a flower for his help, and says to give it to someone nice. As soon as Lars turns, the woman who was observing him in the church says hi, to which he throws away the flower and says hi back. She tells him she will see him at work tomorrow, to which he replies yes and runs off. After this awkward exchange, the beginning couple is revealed as Karen and Gus, the latter who happens to be Lars' older brother. Gus says that his brother is 27 years old and wants to be left alone. Karen does not think so, and even says nobody wants to be left alone. Gus spots Lars running to his house, and Karen tries to catch him before going inside to ask him for dinner. He just runs to his house and slams the door. Karen is frustrated, but Gus smiles as if he knew what was going to happen. Karen asks if this is normal, to which he replies $5. Lars sits alone in the dark in his house, completely lonely. The next morning, Karen spots him leaving for work. Lars comes to work and is greeted by his co-worker, Cindy, who asks him about his weekend and the new girl who has just started work. Lars avoids this conversation and heads to his cubicle where he is greeted by a male co-worker, Kurt. Kurt asks him to see something on his computer, to which Lars says that he isn't in the mood for porn in the morning. Kurt shows a website where you can buy sex dolls and customize them to your liking. Kurt cannot buy it as he is broke from buying an Xbox. The girl from the church, Margot, is revealed to be the new person who has just started working here. She seems to have an attraction to him. She even invites him to carpool with Lars, as they live in the same area. But Lars avoids this conversation and heads to get coffee for him and Kurt. While returning from work in the evening, Lars is stopped by Karen. Karen invites Lars for dinner. Lars tries to get out of this, but Karen psychically subdues him to come. While having dinner, Gus brings up that Karen's worried about him, as he is always alone. Gus relates this to their father, who also kept to himself. Lars corrects him that their father didn't want anyone around him and that Lars just likes to be alone. Gus reveals their father was like that when their mother died just after Lars was born. Gus asks Lars to move in with him, to which Lars denies. Gus adds the house is his, but Lars seems reluctant. As Lars leaves, Karen and Gus tell him goodnight and give leftovers to him. Lars asks for his blanket, as it was made by his mother when she was pregnant with Lars. Karen reminds him that they love him too. Karen asks if he is mad at her. However, Lars just grabs the blanket and leaves. The movie fast forwards to 6 weeks. One day, a large package arrives. Karen phones and lets Lars know a package has arrived for him. Lars comes back early from work to open his package. Lars dresses up and goes to meet Gus and Karen. Lars seems happy and confident. He tells them he has a visitor whom he met via the internet, a wheelchair-mobile missionary of Brazil and Danish descent named Bianca. They discover that Bianca is a lifelike doll that Lars ordered from an adult website. Gus and Karen are shocked. Gus freaks out about the doll, but Karen calms him down and asks him to go along with it. They have dinner like normal people. Lars continues to talk more about Bianca. Lars even asks for clothes from Karen for Bianca. They spend the night at Gus and Karen's house. Concerned about his mental health, they convince Lars to take Bianca for a checkup with the family doctor, Dagmar, who is also a psychologist. Dagmar diagnoses Bianca with low blood pressure and advises Lars to bring her in for weekly treatments. She aims to have regular contact with Lars, hoping to get to the root of his behavior. Gus wants Lars admitted to a hospital, as he thinks they won't be of any help. However, Karen thinks Lars needs them and refuses to admit him to a mental institution. Dagmar explains to Gus and Karen that this delusion is a manifestation of an underlying problem that needs to be addressed. She urges them to assist with his therapy by treating Bianca as a real person. Lars starts coming to Gus and Karen's house more often. He seems more articulate now than ever. Lars begins to introduce Bianca as his girlfriend to all townsfolk. Due to their concerns for Lars, everyone treats Bianca as a real person. Lars soon finds himself interacting more with people. During this time, Margot has begun to date another co-worker, which silently bothers Lars. Margot even invites him to Cindy's party. Gus and Karen convince the elders of their family to compromise and go along with this charade. Lars starts bringing Bianca to church. He even regularly visits the psychiatrist with Bianca. Lars takes Bianca to the lake, where he and his brother used to play when they were kids. Gus tries to learn more about mental illness and delusion. During all this, Gus and Karen take care of Bianca's maintenance as a doll. Lars starts talking more personal stuff with Dagmar. Lars seems to project himself as a contrast to Bianca. One time, he says Bianca likes hugging everyone, but Lars does not like physical affection. He admits to liking physical affection from Bianca, a doll, more than humans, calling it burning or hurting. Lars visits Cindy's party, although he is hesitant at first and spends the whole party talking to everyone. Lars asks his brother when he knew he had become a man and what being a man means. Gus says he knew it when he began doing the right things for the right reasons, even when it hurt. Gus gives several examples, including their father keeping them and taking care of them, even though he didn't know how. Gus says he never should have left Lars alone with their father, and he apologizes for being selfish. The conversation seems to reach Lars, and his dependence on Bianca immediately seems to shift. When a co-worker with whom Margot has been playing pranks goes a bit too far, Lars confronts her. During the ensuing conversation, Margot reveals she has broken up with her boyfriend. She invites Lars to go bowling, which he initially declines before reconsidering. The two spend a pleasant evening together along with some other townsfolk. Lars is quick to remind Margot he could never cheat on Bianca. Although disappointed, Margot replies that the thought never crossed her mind. As they part, Lars takes his glove off to shake Margot's hand, a significant advance in his ability to interact with others. He earlier explained to the doctor that others' touch felt like burning. One morning soon after, Lars announces that Bianca is unresponsive, and an ambulance rushes her to the hospital. Once there, he tells his family that her diagnosis is not good and that Bianca would like to be brought home. The news spreads through the town, and everyone whose life has been touched by Bianca sends flowers or sits with Lars at the Lindstrom home. Gus and Karen ask Dagmar why this is happening, and she reveals that it indicates a significant shift for Lars. They suggest that Lars and Bianca join them for a visit to the lake. While the couple is hiking, Lars gives Bianca a very sad farewell kiss. As Gus and Karen make their way back from the hike, they discover despondent Lars in the lake with a dying Bianca. Bianca is given a full-fledged funeral that is well attended by the townspeople. After Bianca is buried in the local cemetery, Lars and Margot linger at the gravesite. When Margot states that she should catch up with everyone else, Lars asks her to take a walk with him instead, to which she happily agrees.